Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
And the Sixers win it! Wow!
Oh man, and being just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles! Let me get a hell yeah!
What is up, everybody? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. Party on Broad can be found on iTunes and Spotify. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe button, guys. If you're watching us here at the Painted Lines YouTube channel, today we are breaking down the 2020 NHL Draft of the Philadelphia Flyers. We're talking the best, we're talking the worst picks, Tyson's favorite pick, and we're going to assign an overall grade for the 2020 Flyers draft class. Joining me today is my man Tyson. If you don't already, please give him a follow on Twitter at QuayBallTyson. He's written detailed breakdowns on the NHL draft, including mock drafts and top 100 prospect rankings. You can find all of those at thepainterlines.com. What up, Tyson?
Not much. I'm excited to talk about the Flyers and an amazing day once again for a franchise that is continuing to kill it in the draft.
Love it. Are you not, like we were talking about this before we started, are you not surprised they killed this? Are you not surprised? Like, if you look across the spectrum of Sixers, Phillies, Eagles, and Flyers, the Flyers are here and just running laps around the other three professional sports. But let's get your overall take on the Flyers draft, man.
Yeah, so I gave them a grade, and I gave them an A- overall, because for the most part, I think that on almost every single pick, at least three of their five, they got incredible value, as in most lists that were in the public sphere. A lot of guys that were consensus maybe attempting to be taken earlier, the Flyers got way later. So a lot of it is just value by picks. You know, it started with Emil Andre at 54, where a lot of public lists, especially in analytically minded people, had him as a first rounder. They get him in the mid-second. Zayd Wisdom, who they got in the fourth, at 94. I had him 83 on my list, and I almost felt like that was too low. He climbed. I saw him as high as early 40s on a lot of others. So you're talking a potential second rounder there, or even early third, getting taken in the fourth. And then Connor McLennan, who went in the sixth. I knew there was a chance that he was going to be taken in the sixth due to his size, and we can unpack that a little bit, but. At the same time, I saw some public lists that had him as high as a second, and I saw a lot of mock drafts had him as a third or fourth rounder, maybe maxing out at a fifth. I think in one of my mocks, I had him sitting around a late third, early fourth. So again, just the overall value that we see here is incredible, and also the fact that the Flyers are kind of using a strategy that is changing a little bit, or it's rather new in the NHL, where they're not drafting based upon size any longer, especially in later rounds. They're very clearly going for skill. And that's a strategy that has worked well for teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have some guys that are smaller and skilled that they've taken in later rounds that we saw on their Stanley Cup roster that were highly successful. So again, this is a really good strategy, I think, moving forward. It's kind of progressive, and it's great to see. So overall, in terms of value at each pick, basically, yeah, it was incredible. A- overall is what I gave them.
A- draft. What was the Flyers' best pick in the 2020 NHL draft?
I still think it was our friend Mr. Emil Andre at 54. Just the fact that he has this incredible toolkit. I was reading up again more on him, and a couple of scouting reports that I saw, different from mine, were saying that one of his areas of improvements is he needs to stop trying to take everybody's heads off with hits. And so if you think about, he's 5'9", 175 pounds, he's kind of built like a tank. And he just is just fearless, like in the Swedish league already this season, just trying to line up everybody, and then still has an offensive toolkit. Like, that sort of overall package to me checks a lot of boxes. The only negative, again, is his size. And so, yeah, it's like they're getting a second first rounder in the second round. And I think that's the best value pick that they had on the table.
5'9" guy flying around trying to take guys' heads off. You know what that equals? That's the ingredients for a guy that's going to be a Philly fan favorite, man. That is awesome. Emil Andre. Let's go on to the worst pick. What was the Flyers' worst pick in the 2020 NHL draft?
Yeah, and even in this one, my reason for giving it the worst pick, the Flyers actually traded to take this player. Their fifth round pick, Elliot I'm going to say his name wrong, Desnoyers, I think, or Desnoyers, playing in the Quebec League. So obviously they saw something in him to give up another pick to select that slot. However, I think I had him outside of my list. A lot of people had him also outside of his list. But from what I've seen from some of the things that Chuck Fletcher has mentioned to Brett Flarn, their head of scouting, to a few other scouting reports, is mostly like he played in a secondary scoring role on his team in the Quebec League last year. So again, he's a smaller, skilled forward that they see having good upside. I think in exhibition games so far in his league, he's a point per game right now. And so there's, again, some room there. I say worst pick just because I was a little bit surprised that's where he went in the fifth. I think there was potentially some better players available at the time. But again, like in terms of the type of player, it was that same sort of like sub 6 foot, sort of small but skilled, sort of high tenacious type play bad. Fifth round of a player like that, sure. I mean, he had 35 points last season in the Quebec League. It's not terrible, but again, it's still a player that I was a little bit more surprised at. But it's a very low. It was a bad pick, if that makes sense. I'm not even saying it's a bad pick. It's time will tell.
Love it. Now let's go on to Tyson's favorite pick of the Flyers. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I actually have a tie here. I mean, obviously the Andre one that I talked about, but I really like the Zayd Wisdom pick in the fourth round. Yeah. And we can start with him. I mean, you were talking before about just going on YouTube and watching the story about his life on TSN. So it's a tearjerker on the way to potential rags to riches story. Everybody loves him, like his personality. That's his MO. And not only that, but he saw massive improvement in his overall game this season. And his comparables in style of play that I've seen is Zach Hyman on the Leafs. So again, like a guy that is just very tenacious on the puck, high work ethic, can chip in a little bit of offense, kind of like a third liner type. But then another one I've seen even is Wayne Simmons. And so you know how much Flyers fans loved Wayne Simmons. And so, again, not saying that he may have that same ceiling where Simmons scored 30 goals on the Flyers, but if you're talking style of play, there's definitely some comparisons. So it's not going to be a long, it's going to be a few years before we could potentially see him in a Flyers jersey. But that was just a great pick. Going to be a fan favorite in Philly very quickly. And my other one was their sixth rounder, Connor McLennan, who I actually had ranked in my top 30 at one point this season. So he's a sixth rounder. Again, he's listed at 5'8". I've heard that's generous. I think that when he entered the WHL, he was listed at like 5'5". So, but he was over a point per game in his league, highly skilled, not always viewed as like the best skater in the world, but just well-rounded overall. And so that's a guy you want to take a swing at in the sixth round, where you take a swing on a guy that's over a point per game. His weaknesses is literally basically just his size. Like, again, you wonder if he could put it all together at the NHL level, but at the same time, people are projecting that maybe he could even lead. It wouldn't be surprising if he would lead his league in points this year. That was a player that I've seen some people predict based upon underlying numbers. So again, you look at that overall and you just say, what a value pick and just a guy you want to take a swing at. So both those guys are my two favorites.
I was at work and in between clients, and my buddy sent me a video of Zayd Wisdom, and I'm telling you, man, I was fighting back the tears, like heading into my next client. What an unbelievable journey for this kid. I just can't wait to see him in orange and black. Before we wrap it up, we've done a lot of pods here, Tyson and I, and a lot of top 10 prospect type of pods. Are any of these guys able, like, going to cross your threshold for top 10 Flyers prospects within the next year or two? What would be your best guess?
Yeah, at minimum 2,
Okay.
if not 3 already. So again, just bumps a few guys down the list, not because they've gotten worse. But yeah, I mean, when you add Forster, first rounder, into that mix, we haven't even mentioned him today. If you add Andre, I think both Forster and Andre at minimum enter that list for me already. So that's already an exceptional feat. I'm going to be releasing a list pretty quick here after free agency tomorrow. The NHL in this accelerated offseason draft and free agencies tomorrow. It's fast.
Jesus.
So, yeah. So, again, once that dust kind of settles there, and we see if the Flyers make any trades or moves with some of these prospects, I'll be doing an updated list hopefully in the next couple weeks. And I believe at least 2 of those guys will be on there for sure.
Quick note on the Flyers. So Justin Braun got extended. Niskanen's retired. Brian Elliott's back. Ghost is still on the roster. What would be like a couple moves you think the Flyers, go with over the next couple weeks?
I think they are going to want to do a couple things. First, I think what they would like to do is kind of finish up signing some of their restricted free agents. That even includes Nolan Patrick and Philip Myers is the other one to obviously qualify both players. Patrick does not have arbitration rights because of being injured, so that works in the favor of the Flyers. Myers does have arbitration. I think they would prefer to sign him before he gets there. But outside of those guys, they're probably sitting at, if they don't make any more moves, another at least $4 million roughly in cap space. And kind of right now, I think probably their biggest need is to fill that Niskanen hole. So Braun with the $1.8 million cap hit, that was a good deal for a third pairing guy. But again, you don't want to really have him be on your second pairing. So I think they're going to look at some veteran defenders, particularly right shot veteran defenders. And there's quite a few. I was listening to Canadian media saying they should go for Alex Pietrangelo, the Blues captain. That's a huge cap hit, though. They have the flexibility. I think that they could make something happen. But again, I don't really think that's what they want to do. Chuck Fletcher has seemed like he wants to more take these slow and steady steps and allow the younger core to develop. But I could see them going for a player like Chris Tanev, a right shot defenseman that's been with Vancouver the last few years. He's a pretty steady two-way guy, doesn't put up much points, but just a solid veteran. Or even if you wanted to go someone more offensive-minded, Sami Vatanen. Those are a couple options. Or they could go with something significantly cheaper, the way of bringing back Gudas. Radko Gudas is a free agent. So there's a lot of options for him, but I think they're going to go defenseman or a combination of a cheaper depth defenseman and re-signing Nate Thompson. I think that Vigneault wants Nate Thompson back. Otherwise, Grant, I think, is gone. A few of those other, Pitlick is likely gone. There's enough youth to bring up, but that's where I think they're headed tomorrow. I
love it. That is my man Tyson. Follow him on Twitter at QuietBallTyson. Check out all his draft content over at thepaintedlines.com. A-, guys. The Flyers got an A- in this draft. They continue to run laps around the Phillies, Sixers, and Eagles in player development and the draft. Must be nice. All right. For Tyson, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
Sixers win it! Wow!
Oh man, and being just posterized, Russell Westbrook.
You